Hi everyone, it's Vicky here and I'm back with the April card kit by SSS Stamp. Just like always, I'm going to go through the products first and then share some inspiration. So you are going to get foam squares as well as embossing ink and an embossing powder in a lovely gold shiny color. I absolutely love when I get supplies that I can use over and over again in the kit. And to top it all, we do get a pair of scissors. These are my favorite ones. I do have another pair that I use always for fuzzy cutting. The kit always includes a lollipop, an envelope, and I love the shine on it. And then you do get a 3D embossing folder. This is going to give a beautiful imprint of lovely flowers and leaves. I will be using this on one of my cards today so you can see it in action. It's one of those really versatile designs that you can use again and again. Then let's take a look at the stamp set. Two big flower compositions that you can stamp and color if you like to be your main focal point, but tons and tons of sentiments. I absolutely love the font on them, bigger and smaller, that you can emboss with the gold embossing powder that you get in the kit. Now let's take a look at the papers, and you know that in these type of videos I mainly focus on the pattern paper just to give you ideas on how to use it. I know other designers do share lots of ideas with the stamp set, so I'm always focusing on the paper. You see, some of the paper is very busy. There are other papers that you can cut out little images as your focal points. I'm going to show you and share ideas on how you can use that. You also get 3 colors of cardstock, and finally you do get a big pouch, the zipper pouch, where you can store everything inside. Now I'm going to go through the pattern papers and show you how I categorize them. There are these pattern papers that you can cut out elements out of, like squares and rectangles, and they can work as ephemera or as your focal point. Then you have the super busy ones, and then you do have the ones that are more softer, they don't have super busy designs, and they would work great as a background. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just separating all the papers in 3 categories so that I can pick easier what I need. For the 3 cards that I'm sharing today, I will be using as my focal points elements from the 3rd stack. For the backgrounds, I will be using elements from the middle stack, and then from the 1st stack I can cut out fuzzy cut elements, and I did show you in previous videos how you can use super busy pattern paper, so you can use those ideas on this paper pack as well. So I'm going to start by using my paper trimmer, and I'm going to separate all those elements. This is going to give me an idea of everything that I have. Think of them as an ephemera pack where you get all those images as well as sentiments that you can play with to create your clusters. And I'm going to start creating my card. I have a white panel here which I'm lightly misting with water, and then I'm going to run this with the embossing folder through my die cutting machine. By the way, this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it provides a great saddle base where I can build up my cluster, and this is going to keep the design clean and simple, and at the same time it's going to add that extra something at the background. So here I'm using my scissors and I'm just fuzzy cutting one of the flowers and a couple of the leaves. It's really easy to do, the lines are really defined and the flower is quite big, so it's not a big problem. I am going to play with the ephemeras. I'm going to call them ephemeras, those rectangle ones that I have on the right. And when I create clusters, I like to have dimension to make the card look more interesting. That's why I'm fuzzy cutting a flower so that I can pop it on top of my cluster to make it look more dimensional and interesting. So with those rectangles, one thing that you can do is to cut out a second one from one of those background papers and just stack one on top of the other. It is going to give a pop of color and design at the background, and make sure that you use a paper that is contrasting to the one that you have on top. I did add foam squares at the back just to add some dimension, and then this is where I'm going to use the fuzzy cut flower on top of the flower composition that it is printed. So this gives it a little bit more dimension, and I made sure that it comes out of the rectangle. That's where I'm going to tack the leaves as well, which brings it more to life. Now I'm going to add a few more ephemeras here and there. I do have this little ticket that I cut out, and again I'm going to just tack it behind with foam squares at the back. This is a very clean and simple design, but I think it is adorable. The word is golden and it says remember, so on the inside you can go with remember I'm always thinking of you, or remember you are perfect, and things like that. And just to finish it off, I'm going to add some dots with my golden contour liner. You can use gems here as well if you like, and then all you have to do is to stick this panel on top of a pre-folded card and you are done. Here are some close-up photos on the first card for today. Moving on to the second card, and you will see that I will follow the exact same design principles as the first one, but this time for the background I'm going to use pattern paper instead of embossing. So I cut out this panel to be smaller than the standard card. This is going to leave a white border when I place it down, and then as the focal point I'm going to use this ephemera. Now let's dress it up to make it more interesting. I'm going to use this die that gives you foliage leaves, and I'm sure you all have a die that cuts out leaves in your stash. I am going to stick the panel down, and then just like I did in the first card, I cut out a little rectangle which is the same size as my ephemera. So again I'm going to follow the same steps, and I'm going to stick one on top of the other on an angle to make it look more interesting. So you will get that pop of color from the back, and I absolutely love this at the back because it is specialty paper and the golden is shiny. Now again, let's make this more interesting by adding some popped elements. For that again I'm going with one of those little tickets which I'm going to place on top. Again by using foam tape to add dimension, and I'm going to embellish it with the leaves that I have cut out. I used vellum by the way to cut it out, but using green cardstock or a cardstock that matches the color of the background paper would work as well. So I'm just tucking them underneath. And then as always you can make your card look more special if you add some gems or pearls. Here again I'm using gold contour liner. So both the first and the second card follow pretty much the same design, but just with different bits and pieces. You can recreate this again and again with the elements that you get in the kit. So here are some close-up photos on this card, and it is more masculine, I would say, this one. And let's move on to the third card for today. Again here I'm starting by creating a panel by using the background pattern papers, and I chose this pink one. And again it is smaller than the standard card, so it leaves a white border. I always like this finished look. So the idea is to use one of those flower rectangles that you get from the pattern papers, and you can recreate the same design with any one of those rectangles, so you can actually create a whole set of these cards. Now let's talk a little bit about the backgrounds and how to make them look more interesting while keeping them subtle. So in this example, I'm going to use this stamp from the stamp set that is included in the kit, and I'm going to do some heat embossing. I will emboss it with white ink, which is going to give a very subtle look. And for that, I'm going with a flower composition. This is going to appear behind the little ephemera that I'm going to stick on top. On the first card, I did use the embossing folder to make the background subtle but interesting. And on the second card, I did use a background that was subtle but still had some kind of a design. So I stamped twice the part of the flower composition that I needed, and I heat embossed it with white embossing powder, and now it's time to put the card together. So this pink panel goes on top of my card base with foam tape at the back. And then on top I'm going to stick my flower, and you can see how that embossing is peeking through at the back. Now let's make it more interesting by creating a tiny cluster on top of it. For the sentiment I decided to go with grateful, and I don't know if you can see it through the camera, but it is foiled, so I absolutely love the look, and it's going to blend nicely with the rest of the details that I already have on the ephemera that I'm using. They do have golden details as well. So my sentiment is in place, and then if you want to finish it off, again you can add gems, pearl sequins. Again I'm going with my contour liner, this time in white. So these were the projects for today. I hope that you had fun and that you got inspired. Just like always, you will find a list of supplies down below in the description. Don't forget to leave me a comment as well as like the video. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I hope you'll all have a lovely weekend.